This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
To the highway in a brand new day. Over the rainbow, gotta let it go. So fast to finger down. Stars tonight together. Here everyone is singing. 你看到我就怕，头皮发麻，我的胸。
Welcome back to Open the Voice Gate for May 3rd, 2022. We are members of the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can find us on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network podcast feed or on our own dedicated Open the Voice Gate feed on all podcast platforms and applications. You can follow us on Twitter at Open Voice Gate. If you'd like to donate to the show, click the link in the show notes. It'll take you to our redcircle.com landing site. You click the red box that says sponsor this podcast, and you can set up a one-time or reoccurring donation. No obligation whatsoever, but we would like to thank all of our previous donors. It's your old pal, Mike Spears. I am going without Case this week. He is on assignment. He'll be back later this week as we will break down and review Dead or Alive, but I'll be joined by a very special guest after this. Joining me at this time is a long friend of the show and friend to everyone, I think it's fair to say. It is Alan4L from Pro Wrestling Torch VIP and Pro Wrest Paradise, here to help me preview this 2022 King of Gate and more specifically Dead or Alive 2022. Alan, it's great to have you back. How are you doing, buddy?
Mike, I'm doing great. I am delighted to be on Open the Voice Gate here. I'm delighted to be stepping into the shoes of the young boy, young Case Lowe. I can't promise that I'll be able to deliver stories of getting shaken down by Ultimo Dragon in recent weeks, because I don't leave my house. But if I did, that would be a fun thing to occur to me. But I also don't have crazy love life stories either, because it's just me and Sarah living in the house, not leaving it, and it's not as tumultuous as the roller coaster that is the love life of one Case Lowe. But I can talk a little about Dragon Gate. I can probably hold my own in that regard. Or we could just go into relationship stuff. I could just talk about what me and Sarah are watching on Netflix currently and what we had for dinner, and the recent home renovations we've done. We put up some new wallpaper and that kind of stuff. If that's what the listeners want, we can give them that.
Case really shows life in your early 20s. We're bringing the mid 30s hard here tonight, aren't we?
I'm feeling the early 40s, really.
Oh, wow.
I feel like I've stepped into those shoes already. I think the pandemic has really, I think I've advanced it's like you land on something, a Monopoly, to go around the board a couple of times, or a Game of Life, or whatever your board game of choice might be. And I think I've spun around the board a few extra times during the pandemic, and it's I've really just embraced slow paced lifestyle. It's great. I have no complaints over it, by the way.
Yeah, for me, Case is talking about going to the beach this summer, talking about having a new love life, talking about what Mountain Dew drink he wants to have at the beach.
Way too fizzy. I'd be up the walls if I drank Mountain Dew. Peppermint tea is about as crazy as I'll get, Mike.
Oh, I was going to say, for me, my summer plans, it's probably going to be hanging out on my porch, drinking a tea with the dog. That's where I'm embracing it. I don't know if I'm feeling really in my mid 40s yet. I don't know if the Game of Life got me that way, but I did have a 6th grade, so I was 12, teacher once tell me, Mike, you have the soul of an 80-year-old. So that's to a 12-year-old.
At least she didn't tell you you're like Arn Anderson and you look 40 at the age of 12 or whatever. I'll throw this out here since I mentioned peppermint tea, and like drinks corner here on Open the Voice Gate is always a lively affair. I've recently started putting a spoon of honey into my peppermint tea. How
Oh,
would you
there you
feel
go.
about that?
Oh, I love it. I'm
Okay. I
big
wasn't sure if
tea
that was a
guy.
weird thing to do or not, but it's because I find that the peppermint tea, I like it because it relaxes my stomach after eating a big meal. You know, things we need to consider at our age, Mike. But I do find the taste to be, not as enjoyable as some other teas that I would drink, like um, your honey teas and stuff like that. So I put a spoon of honey in there, and I don't know, it just makes it a little bit nicer for me. I've been enjoying it.
No, it's something for me that I take. I basically drink 3 teas at this point in the beverage corner. I will get Yorkshire Gold British breakfast tea. That's usually my go-to in the morning, and then I'll go to a green tea with honey and lemon, or I'll go to, I don't know if they have this in Ireland or this brand. It's this brand called Yogi that does all kinds of herbal teas, and they do a really nice one that, at least for me, I'm someone that my voice will go out if I talk way, way too much. And it used to be a problem when I was doing the first Dragon Gate podcast I did.
Or Greatest Wrestler Ever shows with me.
Yeah,
Can we talk for 7 hours?
I did not have an issue there. I think that was because I have conditioned my vocal cords, but I drink this. It's called Throat Comfort, and it's basically heavy notes of licorice and a little bit of peppermint.
Ooh,
And let me tell
that's
you, that goes down easy.
yeah. I used to be into the licorice, but I've started. We got like these um Christmas advent calendars of teas. We got this year, and there was some licorice ones on there, and I said, look, I don't normally drink the licorice, but it's on the advent calendar. It has to be had, so I just gonna nut up and go with it, and I enjoyed it more than I was expecting. So, I pretty much then every more or less every kind of herbal tea well, I have some I prefer more than others, but I can drink pretty much any. And yeah, anything with a little bit of a fruity kick. Anything. I like the chamomile. I like there's these sleepy ones that you can get over
Oh,
here.
sleepy time tea?
Yeah, there's a few different ones. I don't really even know what's in them. I barely even look at them. I think there's probably vanilla in them.
Oh,
But yeah, I barely look at the ingredients. I just know what it turns out into is delightful, and it gets me nice and restful for the night's sleep ahead. So big fan of sleepy tea. Yeah, it's I think it says, what's it say on it, on the packaging, a relaxing dip into the pool of calm, I think is what it
oh.
says. So it's nice. It's good stuff.
There's few things that I enjoy than a relaxing dip into a pool of calm. Does your sleepy time tea have the bear wearing the old school Ebenezer Scrooge sleeping cap and
Oh
full sleeping
no.
gown on it?
No, I wish it did. My
Oh,
goodness,
that's
that
the
would be.
American one, man. One of the few
Oh,
products that America does better than Europe is the ones that have the little bear on it, because that bear is just chilling out, man. That
oh,
bear is sipping its tea. It's in a nice like recliner too. Like
oh.
it is a cozy bear. So,
I'd say he's got some nice bear slippers.
oh yeah.
I should probably get an ensemble like that for myself, to be honest. Maybe for when I actually do turn 40, that will be the statement outfit that I add to the wardrobe.
Yeah, yeah. And Case, I know you'll be listening to this. This is what you have to look forward to. This is what your life will be like in about a decade or so.
Yeah.
Just prepare yourself talking about sleepy time teas, what happens when you add a little bit of licorice into your life, and all of the above.
Yep, indeed. This has been a pretty hardcore show so far, I gotta say, Mike. We're really pushing the boundaries.
Oh man, we are. So let's get into the program. Alan, you're someone that, as knowing you through the years and knowing you especially through like the pandemic, I know that you are someone that has been very much a arm's length person with wrestling in the era of COVID, and especially in Japan with the audience limitations that they have. But I know that Dragon Gate is a company that you still stuck with during like the last 24 months with
Yeah, it's
this.
the only one that hasn't. You say arm's length, and I've tried to. in ways I've tried to be, but then I keep going back in there for the hug, and sometimes I'm lured in and the hug is nice, and then I get a knee in the balls, and then other times I don't even make it to the hug, and I get like a headbutt from like an All Japan or something like that. But Dragon Gate is the one that just it lets me just keep that hug and pats me on the head, and everything's okay, you know. So it's every with pretty much every other promotion. I'd say AEW is an exception, but AEW I did pretty much stop watching for the first few months of the pandemic. But since they've been back in front of crowds, I've been full time on AEW. But outside, when talking about Japan specifically, every promotion has bit me when I've tried to, gain some enthusiasm for it again. The most vicious bite of which being Noah, because I really, on two different occasions during the pandemic, I really started feeling good about. I was going to say about the green mat, but I guess it's not a green mat anymore. But I really started feeling good about Noah. And then both times they just turned heel on me. And this latest time, like, oh my goodness, like, what a number they did on me. It was Ric Flair and the Horseman just turning around and sopping me in the face, and 3-on-1 beat down from, like, I don't know, Michael Elgin, Kaz Fujita, and Mark Pickering. And
you're staying in that tag match in '92, you're waiting for the tag from Ric Flair. Ric Flair finally makes it to the ring and he tags in and he beats the crap out of you. That's when the Sawa is doing
you picture that Ric Flair punch. When he gets in the ring, he starts strutting, he turns around and just socks you in the jaw. Like, that's what I've got from Noah twice now. But other promotions to a lesser degree, but still kind of hit and miss relationships. But Dragon Gate, like the first year or so, I never felt like I was down on Dragon Gate. I felt like they were doing good stuff and making the best of the pandemic. I think they were, and I could really see what they were doing with their young guys coming through was really good, even if the shows themselves weren't necessarily grabbing me. I was impressed with how they were kind of just keeping the ship above water, and but then from like December of last year through to now, it's just been awesome. Like, I've loved what they've been doing, and it's not like, I wouldn't say there's been like a litany of match of the year caliber contests or anything like that for my taste. Compared to like some of the great Dragon Gate years, like a 2011 or 2013 or whatever. But that's pretty much impossible with the current atmosphere as that shows. But what they have done is they've given me really significant investment in the majority of their roster and the stories they're telling with that roster. And it's exciting to me to follow, and I don't feel like I'm getting burned at any point. I don't feel like I'm going to get burned around the corner. Like, I don't even see what the possibility, like, when you look at this roster and the people they have there, like, I don't even see what the possibility would be for getting burned. It's like I've really solid faith in them, and thus far, just been rewarded constantly, like every month in, month out, getting rewarded for paying attention to what's going on, having an investment in different guys. Like, they're clearly building for the future, and that's so much more, like, when there's that tangible feeling of like, I'm not wasting my time, it is so much easier to enjoy a product. And like, it's with so many other problems right now, I just can't shake the feeling that, what am I doing? I'm not really enjoying this show because the atmosphere is dead. I don't think anything's going to matter because they're just going to pull the rug out from under me. Any investment I have with any certain wrestler, Katsuhiko Nakajima or whoever, it's just going to be chucked out the window. And I'm going to be made feel like an idiot for investing in him. But with Dragon Gate, it's like, I invest in, I don't know, Dragon Dia, and I'm pretty confident that investment in his journey at this point is going to pay off for like the next 20 years, And I could name at least a dozen other wrestlers on the roster that same thing would apply for. So, I really can't say enough good things about how they've handled themselves as a promotion creatively, and how hard everyone has worked there, in trying to overcome the bad atmospheres by just, bringing energy to the shows, because that's something the Dragon Gate roster are, notorious for, is bringing the energy, and that's, it's something that's been needed. Any form of energy that you can muster up is good during these last 2 years, and the Dragon Gate guys have done their best, whether it's Genki Horiguchi just pounding on the apron, getting behind his stablemates, or um, whatever it might be. Like, they've gone the extra mile, and I think we're going to see them be rewarded when, things are back to normal a little bit. I think they've, I think their fan base has really latched onto a lot of what they've been doing, and I think they've somehow managed to create new stars during a really difficult period for star creation.
Yeah, and I think that all of that kind of goes back to the point that Dragon Gate, because of the unique circumstances of the promotion and of its roster, it couldn't afford to pull a New Japan and basically spin its wheels for 2 years, because you have, Masato Yoshino had to retire. Like, he physically could not wrestle anymore. So you can't ignore that. And you can't ignore the fact that you had 6 rookies last year. You had 4 in the year before that. There's another 4 that are about to be doing their pre-show matches on local shows. So it's just something that they did just because of the uniqueness of Dragon Gate when you compare them to your conglomerate promotions, and because of the reality of the aging of the promotion, that like they had to do a generation shift. They had to start a generation shift, and they weren't going to let COVID. I mean, but with COVID, like, yeah, of course, it would have been better for them not to hold off and done it. But you're not going to be able to say, hey, Masato Yoshino, who's in terrible pain, can you hold off for 2 years so we can have a full Kobe Cannon Hall retirement ceremony for you? Like, it's just one of those things that sadly just could not happen. So Dragon Gate, instead of saying, oh, we're spinning our wheels because we don't want to move along here, that they did not have that they did not have that choice, in my opinion. So what does Dragon Gate do? They just continue being Dragon Gate. And I think that when you look at this Thursday's Dead or Alive show, the official kickoff of the hot season, you could tell, like, just like looking up and down the card, there's not a lot of matches on this show that don't have things behind it, which is usually something that even in pre-COVID Dragon Gate big shows, you will get you'll get an undercard that will have some solid matches, but there won't be necessarily be a storyline attached to it to be getting everyone on the card.
Yeah,
I'm looking up.
this is a. I was shocked when I read this treatise card from top to bottom. I was like, this is a way stronger card than what they would typically put forth on even like a Kobe World Hall show. Like, not necessarily like it doesn't necessarily have like the main event that would be as big as some of those shows, but I mean, just card depth wise, it goes a match or two deeper than your average or even your best Dragon Gate big shows.
Yeah, and it's something that with Dragon Gate and with the show, I feel like that there's kind of two things for us worth discussing before we get into the card itself. And I think that first and foremost is, you mentioned missing the big main event. There's been a little bit. I don't know if it's a big to do about it or a little bit of a huff, but the big story about Dead or Alive in Nagoya on the 5th is that there's no cage match for the second time in 3 years. There will not be a cage match in Aichi. GM Ryo Saito said, hey, we want to keep the cage match special. We did not think that it was really that there were feuds that were really at a point that should have the cage match with those kind of stakes. So we're holding off on it for when the stage for the cage match is appropriate. And it's something that I think is kind of interesting, because the Aichi Nagoya crowd really views this cage match as their match. And there was a big hubbub in 2020 when Dangerous Gate in Tokyo got the cage match instead of them. And it's something that I feel like kind of looms over the show, that they have this kind of card, and it's without the typical dead or alive cage.
Well, one thing I think they could be doing is setting up Nagoya as SB Kendo country. And I think if they can transition from the Nagoya crowd having the attachment to the cage match and feeling this is our thing, to then feeling we get the big SB Kento show, and that be a thing for the next 10 years, that the talk over the weekend was that Wrestle Dontaku was like a Bullet Club show and has been the scene of some huge Bullet Club stuff in the last 9 years. I would like something similar, albeit a lot better, for SB Kento at Dead or Alive, and that can include the cage match, but doesn't necessarily have to be the cage match every year, because if they do the cage match every year, you don't want to put him in it every year because that will kind of get old. But you also, if you do want to make him the focus of the show, having the cage match in there, if he's not in it, kind of takes away some of the spotlight from that. So I think it might be smarter to keep the cage match as a non-annual thing going forward, because I'll be honest, I think it had. I don't want to say I was sick of it, but I certainly haven't been disappointed over the fact that they're not doing it this year. And obviously the atmosphere has hurt the last two, I guess. But
Yeah, too.
and SB Kento was in it last year, wasn't he? In Nagoya, that was the one that came down to him, and it was the 2021 that was Dangerous Gate, but 2021 was Nagoya that had him and Dragon Kid as the final two. Correct?
Yeah, that's the thing about the cage match. Also, it was that Yamato and Kai versus SB Kento versus
That's
and
it.
Dragon Kid,
Was that
Parejas and
last? Was that
like,
last May, or did that get moved out?
no, it was May. It was May.
So we're a year. Jesus, that year has gone by quickly. That does not feel like a year ago that they did that program. But yeah. So that even goes further to my point in that they've done the cage match in Nagoya with SB Kento, and if they want to make that show the SBK show every year, it's good to take a break from the cage match. Have it be about him in this big time Bravegate match this year against this big star in Dragon Dia. Probably have him win that title match and get that big singles pay-per-view victory, and then maybe next year you do a Dreamgate match with him, or maybe you do another big Bravegate match, or whatever it might be, but you have him in a prominent position. It could be Dreamgate again the following year, and then the following year after that, maybe you do the cage match and you have him in it then. So I think a bit of a respite from the cage matches is no bad thing, and I think transitioning this show to being the show where SBK does big things is a nice transition, and it will just further cement him as the king of Nagoya when it comes to Dragon Gate and really all of wrestling in Japan, because I don't really know of anyone else that's a big Nagoya superstar. Sanada, is he the closest comparison? And
I
I would,
think so. I can't think of anyone else bigger profile in New Japan who's from Aichi.
yeah, I'll take SBK over Sanada any day of the week.
I mean, at this point, I think we're all better off, taking that. So he is not from Nagoya. He's from Niigata, which is still a part of the region. It's part of the same island of it. But even
Sanada or SBK?
Sonata's from
Yeah,
Niigata.
gotcha. Oh wait, so I'm trying to. Yeah, you're right. It was a G1 show in Niigata. I think that was the one I'm thinking of, where they made the big fuss over it being his hometown, but he had an IWGP title match against Okada in Nagoya at a Wrestle Dontaku, so that might be why I had it confused. So yeah, the runway is clear for SB Kento to be Nagoya's biggest Japanese wrestling star. Ever since Dr. Death Steve Williams and Terry Bam Bam Gordy hailed from Nagoya, Japan during the NWA Tag Team Tournament on WCW, there has not been a star to the Nagoya audience as big as SB Kento is going to be.
Well, I mean, certainly in comparison to Dragon Kid, because Dragon Kid's a Nagoya native, but Dragon Kid gets beat every time at Dead or Alive. So, I mean, it makes sense, especially making this like the big outpost for SB Kento. I mean, we've seen over the last year how they've really made his NUT's homecoming shows to Nagoya such a big deal. I mean, to the fact that it outsold a GHC title change in the same building. So it that logic I'm completely on board with. And it's something that, I mean, he's already lost in the cage, and I think that's something that they don't like, people losing multiple apuestas. Like it takes time really to do that. So like I think the next time that they do a cage match in Nagoya, that should be SB Kento's big face turn. Like that's where it should happen, there in front of his hometown
and I mean
crowd.
he's a young, good-looking man, a young, stylish man. He doesn't want to be shaving his head every year. I mean, come on.
I mean, it is a way that I knew that when I was his age, I would be very delinquent in getting haircuts. So maybe they need to keep on having him in there if they think that hair is getting a little bit too long there.
Some might say I am delinquent when it comes to getting haircuts these days. But yeah, I'll leave that to Sarah 4L to make those claims.
Hey, I mean, much rather be in that state than in my state where I can go a month without a haircut and now no one notices a thing. The other thing about like the big changes, I think, going into this card kind of plays off of the last few weeks with first the retirement of Kness and the departures of Gamma and Super Shisa. When you look at this card, usually those would be three people that would be in match zeros or match ones. And it's not to say anything negative about those three gentlemen, but when you look at the card and when you have those matches usually on these big shows, those are usually like the easiest 2.5 stars move on for your life thing. And it slows down the card. We don't have that now. And it's something that is a part of that generational shift. It's part of that the fact that you want to give the ring time to your Ishin and Hashis, your Lestreas. So it's something that like it kind of struck me this morning as I was looking through the full card, going like, I now see the difference now than where the company was a month ago, because those three guys would have, along with like Kenichiro Arai and Konamao Chikawa, would have had spots on these shows, but they're not now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you can, even a guy like Mochizuki, who we know still has a ton to offer, is very much on the back burner and in these what's your term you use for them, Mike? The rec league.
The Sunday Rec League games matches. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, so it's like if you're putting a guy like Mochizuki into those, then like some of the the veterans with maybe a little less to offer maybe these days than Mochizuki, or maybe traditionally always had less to offer than Mochizuki. It's certainly no harm having them kind of move to the side a little bit, and as you said, give some of the younger guys more of that bell time.
Yeah, and it's something that I think will only pay off as these guys progress. I mean, I'm someone that I have a general theory that that wrestlers will improve over time, but the most exponential improvement you'll have is within like the first 3 or 4 years, at least within Japanese wrestling, of debuting. So getting these kids time now is much more important than having Gamma come out with his stick and the ball of water each time. So it's something that they'll pay off in the end. It's just one of those things I was kind of like going, oh man, usually we'd see Super Shisa come out with a t-shirt, do a European roll, and it would be sick. But now that's not the case anymore. We're in a new Dragon Gate.
We are indeed. There's still, but we still have a couple of our veteran faves that still can kind of, have the rec league match, as you said, and keep their faces out there because people like seeing them, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, absolutely. So let's get into the show itself. So it is a 1600 Japanese Standard Time start. That's 3 a.m. on the East Coast, 7 Greenwich Mean Time. a nice weekday midnight show on the Pacific Coast. English commentary available. The first match, the opener, which will be on YouTube for free into eternity, is for the Open the Twin Gate Championships. It is D Courage of Dragon Dai and Yuki Yoshioka versus the Z-Brats team of Shun Skywalker and Diamante, the New Age Twin Towers. And Alan, has there been more of a shock, like a positive shock in wrestling over the last 5 months than Shun Skywalker losing his dang mind?
You think there might be some strategy here, Mike, in putting this as the opener so it goes up
Oh, I
on
wonder.
YouTube forever, and maybe not the match number 2 instead? They are starting this show out with a gosh darn bang here. This is a match we've all been champing at the bit for. I not to derail things, but are you a champing or a chomping guy?
There's sometimes I'm champing at the bit, but this match I'm chomping. Like we're getting virtually a rematch of the Max versus Max match from December. And we are getting that different partners here, and they're just reviving that here. And you get Shun and Diamante. Diamante, the best kept secret in wrestling, versus Dragon Dia, the main character of Dragon Gate so far this year. And you still got old Yuki Yoshioka, who's just been as great as he was pre-excursion, except now he's incredibly jacked.
Yeah,
I'm so stoked for this.
he's been so good, and we've mainly seen him in there against smaller guys, and as clearly the bigger guy on his team, he's been working more, not as a big guy, but you know, he's been more of the base in matches. But here he's against two guys who are both significantly taller and bigger than him. So, like, I expect to see some really flashy offense from Yoshioka, and for him to look really good in terms of movement and some spectacular stuff that I don't want to say we haven't seen spectacular stuff from so far, because we have, but I think he's just going to show a few more bows to his string, or his strings to his bow. But yeah, you get what I mean. He's gonna impress a lot of people, I think, in this match. I think he'll probably take the majority of the match for his team, because Dragon Dia is going to come back out later for another big match. So I think this is set up to be a great bout. I hope the crowd are, because Japanese wrestling, like, I think a lot of people don't realize that it is very much standard in Japanese wrestling for cards to build from the opener on to the main event in terms of importance. The approach of starting the show out with a hot match is not usually one that's taken in Japanese wrestling, and it's not what the fans customarily expect. The fans are used to coming in and settling into the show and having it gradually build. However, like, the US strategy and European strategy might be start out with that kick-ass opener. Like, everyone loves a good hot pay-per-view opener of like Ray versus Psychosis, or whatnot. And it's been interesting watching the Japanese translations of the AEW shows with Shingo and Desperado. And I'm not sure if it's both of them or which one it was, but there's definitely been comments on a number of weeks from those guys about how they're amazed at how hard the guys go in the first match of the show, and how the show starts out so hot. It's like such a foreign thing to them. And Dragon Gate are putting what, like, if this was 2013, Mike, and this was your Twin Gate match semi main event at Kobe World Hall, you'd see this and you'd be expecting a match of the year. A Ricochet and Naruki Doi versus BB Hulk and Akira Tozawa level, or PK1 versus or wait, sorry, not PK. Was Pac and Dragon Kid against Shima
Yes.
and Ricochet? That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, so
Yeah, that was
PK1
PK1.
versus Spike Mohicans. Yeah, like, you'd be expecting a match of that level. Here, I know they could do that, but will they get that kind of time in the opener? Probably not. Will the crowd be amped up for it with it being the opener? Hard to know, but I think whatever the ceiling is for how good this match can be in this slot, it's going to hit that. I'm probably clearing it a little bit because, man, it's just four extremely talented guys who we know work really well together, who will be looking to have a kick ass match. And whatever happens in this match, I want to see a rematch at some point, and I'd love to see this as a rematch as like a main event on a show at some stage. Because yeah, I think put this in a really high profile situation, and yeah, I think it could be great. But it'll be great here starting off the show, and it'll be something that I'm sure we'll be recommending people check out for free on YouTube after the fact or
It's
live.
or live. I mean, like the other side of them doing this match first and on YouTube is trying to milk out the Dragon Gate network buys out of this. I don't know necessarily how successful it is, but hey, it makes things easier when you want to rewatch hot matches if they put the good matches in the opener because of how the network works and this thing being down in 7 days. The the one thing about this, and you bring up you wanting to see this match again on in a bigger stage, that gets me is, and it's something that only really struck me as we were started talking about this is still playing off of Red versus Masquerade and the Dragon Dia versus Dia Inferno match. These are all four guys who were in that mask match, different sides now. We've seen the chemistry between them before in a storyline match. Now we get to see them with different sides, and honestly, sides I think probably works better for a hot match, I would say. And
Especially with how Shun has been working as a heel. Like he's taken
yeah,
to that as a duck to water.
yeah. And then you have Diamante, who can basically base anyone in the world. And I think we'll be fine. Like Yuki Yoshioka, if you really want to break out some stuff, Diamante is there to help you out with that. So it's really exciting. And I think that this opener is going to be a great way to start off the show. It,
If I was going to describe to people who maybe not familiar with these guys, but have watched a lot of US indies, I would say if you want to get a feel or if you want to think about what this match might be like stylistically, I would point to um, Kings of Wrestling versus Motor City Machine Guns from ROH. I think there's a very much a similar vibe to the vibe those teams had together with these two. The two taller guys who are capable of doing spectacular things themselves versus the two maybe faster, smaller, spectacular in sync guys with incredible double teams who just move at a mile a minute and will use their double teams to counteract the size differential. I think that's well, I think of that match that those two teams had in New York City in 2010, and I think something similar style wise is what we could be seeing here.
Yeah, it's going to be really a whole lot of fun. There has been a card change when we get into match 2 and then later into match 5. Punch Tominaga has been removed from this 4-way match, so now it's a 3-way. It's Sachiyoko Boy versus Problem Dragon Mondai Ryu and Yosuke San Maria. With Punch, it was very clear that this was going to be the comedy match here. It's still probably going to be that way, to be quite honest. Here for a match 2, a rare 3-way singles match though on a Dragon Gate show.
Yeah, the shockwaves and ramifications of Big Boss Shimizu's injury. I had not considered the fact that it was going to ruin my dream 4-way here. Um, the is it harsh to call it the like Dragon Gate scrub 4-way dance? It
The
was
match
just
0 special.
like when I saw the Dragon Gate, first of all, like never do 4-way singles. I suppose maybe some of the key hunting matches they used to do, but like yeah, this was just so random. And then the four people in it, it was like okay, this is tremendous. I love this. I I much prefer these four wrestling each other than them mixing it up with people who could maybe do a bit more on the show. I just think this is a really fun thing to trot out there for 5 or 6 minutes. And I had my Galaxy Brain idea is you run this four-way on every single pay-per-view, every big event. You run this four-way as match number two, but every time the stipulation is the winner faces Takashi Yoshida, and then Takashi Yoshida comes out and beats the winner in like 10 seconds. And you do that exact same formula on every pay per view. You just spice it up by having a different guy win each time, but they all eat a pineapple bomber.
I mean, Takashi Yoshida's not on this show. We perfectly had a place for him to come out here and to give old Problem Dragon a pineapple
Well, the,
bomber.
the, the man has a busy schedule. You're not going to get him on short notice. You don't book him, he makes other plans. You call him up, say, "Hey, Big Boss Shimizu's injured. Can you make the show?" He's like, "No, I've got some live streams going on. I've got a bunch of tweets I need to do. I'm gonna write a blog." Um, and yeah, he's a busy man. You're not gonna catch him on short notice, so we have to settle for the three-way with Sachioka Boy, Mandai Ryu, and Yosuke. And yeah, this should be short and sweet, shall we say?
It will be a match that will be about
It
5 minutes
will
long.
be a match.
Yeah. What will also be a match coming up is the 8-man tag team
Oh,
match.
you know what I just realized
What's up?
with this three-way? This is
What's that?
the official three-way dance of the best English commentators in pro wrestling who refuse to speak any English.
I mean, that's it. This is the J Church produce match.
The winner of this match gets to permanently get that slot as the alternate to Genki, who is the alternate to Ho Ho Lun, sitting beside Jay.
Yeah, it's the assistant to the assistant.
Yeah,
is the winner of
yeah,
this match.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, this
God.
the competition will be fierce in this one. These guys are going to bring their A game with this on the line.
Oh yeah, no. So Professor GM Rio Saito and President Keto, we know you listen. We've now added a stipulation to a 4-way match here. That's not key hunting. So let's see who becomes the assistant to the assistant.
Headset hunting. There's a headset
hunting. That's it. That's it. Yeah. So, geez, Problem Dragon though on commentary. That was a trip. That was a trip. I don't know if it was I don't think it was as just bizarre as Yosuke, but that was Problem Dragon basically just having like full conversations with Jay in Japanese that Jay has to translate. I think that's what I'm pulling for in this situation.
And Sachioka, like Yosuke is like in full gimmick, just so completely excitable and screaming and it's like it's just not conducive to a very relaxing commentary experience. And then Sachioka Boy, it's like Tomoaki Hanma times 10 with the raspy voice going on. So that's kind of not ideal for commentary. So yeah, it's all three bring their own strengths and weaknesses, shall we say, to the booth, and yeah, we'll see who emerges.
So, Alan, as someone who's done his fair share of commentary, though, which one of the three would you rather be in the second seat with you?
Well, I've had worse experiences in commentary with certain partners than these three, and I think I'd most enjoy doing it with I think Problem Dragon seemed like the most chill, and I like a nice chill color commentator or co-commentator. Um, I like to keep things easy going in the booth. There's times when you need to get excited in a big main event, but you gotta keep that under your hat for a lot of the time as well. So I think Problem Dragon is probably the most even keeled of the trio. So I would go with him.
Yeah, I mean, he is the one that you could probably lay out and you know that he will fill the time, whereas with Punch Tominaga will just stay silent. Punch Tominaga will not help you out whatsoever.
Oh, for including Punch, yeah, Punch. Well, Punch. He could. He's a direct line to Shingo, so he's probably got a good solid taste in wrestling. He might appreciate a nice a Tenru elbow from the top rope, and I would too. I might actually get along famously with. Like, look, if Punch gets along well with Shingo, I'd probably get along well with Punch. I think because I know I'd get along well with Shingo.
Well, I mean, that means that Punch Tominaga will be maltreated by Alan4L, is what you're saying.
I think I'd be nicer on him than Shingo is. I think I've got whilst me and Shingo share the wrestling nerd gene, the wrestling loving gene, I don't think I share the same bully energy that Shingo has. I certainly don't share the same sunglasses in the club energy that Shingo had in that photo that was doing the
Oh,
rounds the other
God.
day.
Yeah, and Ben, put your shirt on, man. We get you like changing your body up, and that's cool. But put your shirt on, man. You're indoors.
Well, if you were Ben K, would you have your shirt on?
I mean, I would wear more clothes. You want to develop the intrigue on what you got going on under there. So that's how I would do it at least. So the rec league match of the night, but it's not really a rec league match when you look at these 8 people. On the vet side, we got Masaki Mochizuki, Don Fuji, a great man, Yasushi Kanda, and Shuji Kondo versus Strong Machine J, La Estrella, Isha Nahashi, Takuma Fujiwara. Alan, they sneaked in a vets versus rookies match on
Yeah,
this show.
no. What this isn't the rec. This is the rec league guys have turned up for their Sunday game that they always play at a certain time on a certain pitch that they never book, but they just have played there in that slot for 15 years, and they feel it's their right, and they don't need to book it, and they show up one Sunday, and there's a bunch of kids playing there, and they're disgusted, and they're like, "Hey, hit the bricks." And normally that would work because they have a level of seniority and respect around town. But these kids, they've been turfed out before, and they're like, we don't need to take this. So the kids are playing 2-on-2, and then they get a little cheeky and they challenge the older lads to a 4-on-4, and that's what we get here. So what we're gonna see is a bunch of old guys kicking the ankles really hard of a bunch of young kids who are trying to make them look foolish. They're going to try and not. Do you know the term nutmeg, Mike? Have you come across that one?
Is nutmeg similar to the ball tap?
No.
You said nut, and that's where my brain went to when you're thinking about like like this. No, what is nutmeg?
Nutmeg is when you are approaching someone with the ball, and they're defending their position, and you put the ball through their legs and you run past them, make them look like a real fool. And yeah, Jackie Funky Kamei is gonna run up on, or sorry, let me see, Takuma Fujiwara is gonna run up on Shuji Kondo, and he's gonna put that ball through his legs, and Kondo is just going to give him the stiffest shoulder imaginable and knock him about 2 feet back into the ground. And the referee will go to call a foul on it, and Kondo will just give him a glare, and there'll be no foul. And you're going to have Mochizuki just pulling La Estrella down by the mask, Don Fuji kicking at the ankles of Strong Machine J. It's going to be a real war out there, but ultimately, I think that the dirty tactics of the veterans will come true, but they will be gassed at the end of the game, and they might not make it the following Sunday. They might still be, they might just opt for, a nice carvery lunch and a few drinks on the following Sunday afternoon, and watch a bit of TV instead, because, they whilst was they got one up on the young kids, they know that might not always be the case, and they don't want to look foolish, so they might just put their feet up the following Sunday, and then once they miss that one Sunday, they might start missing a few more, and then eventually that turf will be handed over to the young kids. That's what we got going on here, Mike Spears.
Yasushi Kanda is not going to hand that turf over easily. Like they're going to have to really outwork him there for that. I mean, you look at the schedule they have, and their May is tough, but there'll be some time for them to recover before the cork in the next week. So maybe Don Fuji was fearing GM Ryo Saito earlier this year when he put Fuji versus Mochizuki and said no time limit, and Don Fuji had to say, no, you will kill us. 10 minutes, please. So maybe that will come into play a little bit here. The interesting person out of the rookies in this, or like the youngsters, to be fair. No.
Oh wait, we're gonna actually analyze this. Okay, sorry. Let me get back into analyzing mode.
No!
I'm all gassed out here. Like Don Fuji will be after this match for my story.
Yeah. No, Strong Machine J's been putting some stuff together lately. So
I've been enjoying the Strong Machine J, and I would like to say for the record, I did not sell all my Strong Machine J stock. I kept some in the portfolio this whole time, and it's looking pretty good now.
Hey, it had some lows there, but you kept holding on there.
There was that spinning heel kick kept me from. Anytime I thought about selling it, I would picture that nice meaty spinning heel kick that he does, the best spinning heel kick in wrestling since Owen Hart, and I've kept my Strong Machine J stock. I think there's something there, and I'm all for the idea of him and Ada as a no nonsense fist bumping, tip of the head to each other tag team. Just beat people and move on with their lives. I like their dynamic together, and Ada needs to ditch the Nosawa and the Perros dudes, and he needs to get with Strong Machine J. That's what I'm looking for.
I mean, he's venerating the wrong part of wrestling history right now. He needs to go back to Showa. I mean, maybe he needs to become a Strong Machine himself. Maybe there's a lot there, but him and SMJ is something that I'm pulling for a lot myself. Support for Open the Voice Gate this week comes to you from HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's number one. It's America's number one meal service. And one of the great things about HelloFresh is the convenience. Not only do the ingredients come pre-portioned so you're not overbuying or wasting food, but it's easier than ever to get filling meals on the table with a snap, like with options such as family-friendly or quick and easy recipes. The HelloFresh chefs really know how to diversify the menu with seasonal recipes such as salmon limon and pasta primavera. And it's something that even for me right now with HelloFresh, we're getting the summer months. I'm trying to look at trim, try to get ready. I might not be like Case trying to get ready for the beach, but I always think that Mike Spears is a bit of a summer boy, so it's important for me to be looking healthy and fit, and HelloFresh is doing so. And how do you get it on HelloFresh? Well, you go to hellofresh.com/VOW16 and use code VOW16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's VOW16 at HelloFresh.com/VOW16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Match 4. This is another interesting wrinkle with the youngsters on the card. We have Zebrats, BB Hulk, and Hyo going up against the class of 2020. Madoka Kakuta in his first match back after injuring his shoulder last year at Dead or Alive in the Dreamgate match that sadly was the cursed Shun Skywalker title run, but he's returning here and he's teaming with Jackie Funky Kamei. So we're getting 2 members of that class together, and they're going up against BB Hulk and Hyo. Hip Hop Kakuta has reverted back to his real name, Madoka Kakuta. He still has the hand of God, Alan, and he still has the widest hips in all of wrestling. And I don't see a way that this match happens without either Hyo or BB Hulk eating the hand of God, and that being it.
You think they're going straight into a push here, no feeling out with this guy for a couple of months? You think they're going all in, making up for lost time?
I think so, if only because, I mean, he was the quickest to a Dream Key, and he was the youngest ever Dreamgate challenger before he got hurt. So they clearly have had stock in him. And they made sure that he returned and made an appearance at his homecoming show and made sure that he would announce his return here. And he's put into King of Gate. Like, it would have been very easy to say, all right, there, we're glad you're back, but we want to see you. It basically treat him like UT, like where they wanted to see if UT could go a year without hurting himself before pushing him. I think they might not have that approach with the former hip hop.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I think I've predicted that SB Kento might get a big win, big title win on this show, and if that's the case, he probably doesn't need a big run in King of Gate. And who's his first round against? It's against Madoka Kakuta. So I could totally see Kakuta getting a big King of Gate win against SBK and moving on and, making a little run for himself in King of Gate. If we've learned one thing about Dragon Gate in the last 2 years, it's been no half measures. When they have a direction they want to go, when they want to pull the trigger on something, they do not hesitate and they're all in. So I think I get the sense they're all in on Madoka Kakuta, and I think we're going to see a real. And obviously, then the question becomes: how ready is he for such a push? Like, how long has he been training? How long has he been getting back into shape for? What will he look like? Is he in great shape? How will his wrestling be? Because, like, we only saw him wrestling for less than a year, so and he certainly did rise up the ranks very quickly and showed dramatic improvement, but he was far, far from a fully formed wrestler when he got hurt. So will he still be learning mid push? I'm sure he will. It's gonna be very interesting to see how his next few months go. And obviously, the main thing is we hope he stays healthy and can make a real push up the card and into some important positions. And be interesting to see if he does get a run in King of Gate, where that lands him on the Kobe World cards in July. What kind of plans do they have for him then, and what kind of faction plans do they have for him? I'm very excited to see. It's just another thing to be excited and intrigued about it in Dragon Gate right now is what's in store for Madoka Kakuta, and it's cool seeing him team with Jackie here, one of his classmates. Um, Obviously, someone he turned on in joining RED when he turned heel. So Jackie will have to. Jackie seems like an accommodating enough young man. One to leave the past in the past. Seems like a forgiving young fellow. So I think Jackie will be cool about this, and he'll keep his eyes open. He won't be completely naive to things, but I think he'll be looking to form a good duo here with Kakuta and get a good win against Hulk and Hyo. And I don't see this match going super long. I think it will be pretty decisive one way or the other. If they go a completely different direction than we've talked about here, and they're gonna really slowly ease him back in, he's gonna do the job here and then get knocked out in the first round of King Gate, then I see him like eating a first flash in like 4 or 5 minutes and that being it. But no, I think it'll be a similar kind of time, but it will be a case of Hyo eating the hand of God and Kakuta standing tall at the end of this thing.
Yeah, the thing about Kakuta that really draws my eye to him was like when he debuted, he was the really lanky. He's a former capoeira player, and he had like long tights, kind of looking like Shinya Aoki in a weird way. And just the way that he kind of developed over that 1 year before he got the injury. So seeing like essentially this is the start of his year 2 right here. Seeing like how, like as you said, like how's his training, what's his body like, how is that wing going for him? And I think that those are the kind of the big things that kind of stick out to me in this match. And as you mentioned, I as you mentioned with Kamei, I think Kamei is a pretty agreeable guy. I think the best way to describe him, at least through photos that Susumu Yokosuka posts on Twitter, he's very pleasant. He's a pleasant young man. So I think he might give his classmate a shot, but I think he's not going to. He's going to have eyes on the back of his head after what happened in 2020 with him. And that brings us to match 5.
So sorry, I was on mute there, Mike. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
My bad. Yeah, no, I absolutely, yeah. I think I agree with what you said there, and yeah, it'd be they might play up something with Jackie, kind of like you said, having eyes in the back of his head, and keeping the head in the swivel, and maybe maybe even tease that a natural vibes relationship might be there for Kakuta. Who knows? There's a whole bunch of different things they could do with him, and I think this will be we haven't really been given many hints so far. Obviously, the big thing we've been given so far is that he's gone face and gone back to his original name, but in terms of from there where things go, we haven't been given much. So it's this match will tell us a lot.
Yeah, no, and definitely this will be kind of one of those things to keep an eye on is Kakuta in May, and as we are entering the hot season, see just as general stock, because we have no idea, and that's what makes it kind of exciting for me. The last non-title match on the show, this is the match that originally had Big Boss Shimizu. Punch Tominaga is joining his former Natural Vibe partner in Kinki Horiguchi and the newest member of Natural Vibes, Jason Lee, versus High End. It is the Bensuke tag team in Kagatora here. So at least to me, like I see this match that it's going to be Jason Lee's big debut in Natural Vibes. If listeners have kept an eye on social media, you have seen that Jason has done the dances. He has dyed the back of his hair, Rasta colors to fit in there, but we don't have like a costume yet or anything like that. So I think that this is going to be considered like the true debut of Natural Vibes, Jason Lee.
Yeah, I wonder if he's been hitting up Mr. and Mrs. Tominaga's dance school. So yeah, it's Jason with vibes. I think we're all excited about it. I think we all feel good about it. None of us, like you guys talked about, none of us were looking to add new members to vibes. But as Kay said, like no matter where you put Jason, it's a net positive. So there's a whole lot of exciting things he could do in that team, whether it's trios with the other Young Vibes guys, or maybe a Twin Gate team with Jackie doing the Bruce Lee tribute act. Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I think this match will be all about him. Even if it was Big Boss Shimizu still in there, I still think the focus would have been on Jason Lee mostly. Genki will blend into the background. We might get a couple of backslides from Heaven, but this will be the Jason Lee showcase, and I think he will no doubt make the most of it, as he does every time he's given any semblance of an opportunity in this company. So yeah, I think this will be really good. It's a solid trio of high end guys they're going up against. I know you and Case are both quite down on high end. It's understandable. I still think they do good work, and I enjoy watching them. So I think this should be a good match.
Yeah, Dragon Kid did have on Twitter a very good high-end T-shirt, which is the most interested I've been in them. But I mean, this is the right trio to go against them, right? Like Dragon Kid and Bensuke, like they make sense in this pairing, and I mean, high-end is kind of where they're at right now, so it makes sense with everything here. But I still do really feel like this is going to be the Jason Lee show.
It's Kagatora and Bensuke, right?
Right. Yes.
Sorry, I thought you said Dragon Kid there.
Yeah. I think I did because I was talking about the T-shirt that he has.
Yes. So Kagatora with Jason, I think those two mixing up could be a lot of fun. If we see a big match on his game, Kagatora, I think those two will work really well together. I think Ben and Jason could work really well together. If Jason's getting the win, which I would expect is the case here, even though he's not got the strongest partners, it'd be a shame if he was to lose. who do you see him beating of this high end trio if they were giving him the? Would it just be Kagetora? Do you think they might put another dent in Benkei's armor here?
I mean, I think
Or Okuda's armor for that matter. He's taken some falls recently.
yeah. Okuda's actually the person I was thinking of because he has a little bit of a higher station than Kakatora. And, ever since he lost 2 Ryzen fights, his booking has really cratered in a way, in my opinion. So I think Okuda's going to like eat the game of death or something. Like that's my expectation about this. Benkei, I mean, you could easily say like, oh, Jason is now like entering King of Gate season on a little bit of a momentum, a little bit of a streak there, and it's like, oh, now that he doesn't have Shun Skywalker harassing him every show, he's able to actually, compete at the highest level. So I think you can make the argument for all 3 members of High End taking the fall.
Okay, yeah, it'll be interesting as yeah, he could do. I could see the finishing stretches based on which guy it is with Jason all look very different in my mind.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so yeah, it's hard to predict how this match will kind of finish up, but maybe it'll just be Punch Tominaga eating like a Benkei spear and that being it, and we're like, well, welcome to Natural Vibes, Jason. See you next time. But I don't think so. I think they will give him the spotlight here.
For sure. And then we have the Rikyu Dragon Pro Wrestling Soul Championship match. I asked a
Yes.
friend who studies Japanese, and the closest thing, because I thought when I saw the name, I thought it was like Twin Dragon, because Ryu being dragon in Japanese. I felt like that would be a nice thing. Apparently, and this might still be wrong, apparently this is the Blue Dragon Championship. So I thought that was kind of
You
neat.
could, if you were a Baka Gaijin like myself, you could read it as a Sour UO championship match. And like a Sour UO sounds like a drink that Yamato and what's his name, the Don of Okinawa
Oh,
might
Garukin Mask, my
Garuka
main man.
Mask. Yeah, that sounds like a drink that Yamato and Garuka Mask might partake in on one of their nights out together when they're hitting the town. But yeah, I am excited for this match. I love this match being added to the card. It is. I, I don't want to say I'm disappointed by the Twin Gate match being the opener because for the reasons we talked about it's cool that it's the opener, but also for the reasons we talked about, that may sort of put some limitations on it. And I'm always a big fan of the 2 versus 2 tag title match on a Dragon Gate pay per view. It's always or traditionally been the match I'm most excited for on a lot of the shows over the years. And the, the fact that the Twin Gate has been moved from its normal slot because of Dia wrestling twice, but what they've done is taken what could easily be a Twin Gate match in and of itself with this Ryukyu Dragon match and putting it in that slot. I just think it's such great fan service, and I think it's a great use of all 4 of these guys. I I don't see any holes in this match. I think it's going to be super exciting. Like we know all of these guys work well together. UT and Dragon Kid have their history. KZ and Dragon Kid have great chemistry. Yamato is Yamato, huge star, and is one of the greatest tag team wrestlers Dragon Gate have ever had. Both his team with Doi, but also some of the stuff he did with both Kai and BB Hulk, believe it or not. And then for me, as much as the Doi tag team gets all the praise, I think Yamato and Shingo is like his greatest tag team he's had. So yeah, Yamato has delivered many a time in this slot. All 4 of these guys we know deliver on pay per view. They've all had match of the night candidates on Dragon Gate pay per views. I think they'll go out here and yeah, you might see this weird tagline to the match that it's for these titles that you might not have ever heard of. But don't worry about that. I think these 4 guys are going to go out there and absolutely smash it here in this. I think this is the sleeper match of the night.
Yeah, I think that this is the sleeper match of the night. KZ and UT have been so much fun together. UT having a resurgence within Natural Vibes and getting his first belts since he was a rookie has been a nice thing in 2022. And Yamato and Dragon Kid, like, they had a fun tag team last year before the formation of High End. So I can really see this. And as you beautifully laid out, Yamato, he might not be Bobby Eaton or Alex Shelley, but he is of maybe the tier right below them of great all-time tag team wrestlers. And yeah, I mean, the only caveat I would say about this match is a caveat I would say for a lot of stuff on the show is just going to be time. You know, it's something that's the second tag team title match on the show. It's the second out of 5 title matches, and it's being positioned where it is there. Like, that's my only fear about this match is that it might go 8 minutes.
Yeah, that's a reasonable fear, but I will say if maybe 8 might shortchange it, but like if they even get like 11 or 12, I think you're not going to find me complaining about matches of that length during the pandemic era because atmosphere wise, I think it's just way more conducive to matches that don't go over 15 minutes versus matches that do. So, and Dragon Gate we've seen Dragon Gate have less and less matches that go a long time as like they're keeping things short, sweet, and packing a punch during the pandemic. And I think this will be something that if it is given 10, 11 minutes, I think that's all it needs to be an excellent bout and maybe even a match of the night contender.
11 minutes. I think that's what I'd be hoping for. I think you hit the nail on the head there. The Open the Brave Gate title match. This is Dragon Daya's second title match of the night. I guess the dead or alive this year is if Dragon Daya is going to escape not Fukuoka. I don't know why I'm thinking about Fukuoka right now. Going to escape Nagoya as a double champion as he defends it against the guy who he beat for the title, SB Kento, in his hometown. And Alan, the big question is, how many belts do you think Dragon Daya is walking out of Aichi with on Thursday?
I think he's not walking out of there with 2. And if he's walking out of there with 1, it'll be the Twin Gate. I think he's losing this Brave Gate. Absolutely, he's losing this to SBK. I'm all in on SBK winning it here in his hometown. I think this will be a crowning match for him. SBK has shown that maybe in like 6-man tags on Korakuen shows in the middle of the card or whatever, he might dog it a little bit, not push himself to crazy degrees. But when you put him in a big singles match situation, like the Brave Gate defenses he had in the last month or two of 2021, he is not afraid to go out there and absolutely smash it. The guy is so talented. He can seemingly do everything in the ring. He's got so much charisma and poise, and yeah, he's just got that ability to just kick his game into another level, it seems. And I think he'll do it here. It's curious. I wonder if it's something he's actively been encouraged to do, because we do very like. Would you agree with me that we do see those kind of two sides of SBK? That like there's SBK with his foot on the pedal, and there's SBK not, and it's a very different specimen. Am I being harsh when I say that?
I think that I think that you're being fair about it. I think it's something with him that always, like, if you're looking at, like, in baseball, there's the phrase that they've given to Anthony Bowen, so being a 5-tool player. SB Kento has every tool but the in-ring max out. He has the charisma, he has the presence, he gets psychology, and he has a great theme. This side, that's the 5th tool, is having good music. But in-ring stuff, we've seen him shine against people like Kamei last year. We've seen him like the UT, of course. So we've seen that come out of him. But we've also seen something where it's not that it's bad. I don't want to damn him with faint praise here. I would say that his floor has gone from being someone who might be lost to someone who's just pedestrian. if that's fair to say. Like, but it is something that you could tell when like he knows the scenario he's in. He knows that it's a big time match. He becomes the big time player for that. But you do have to wonder about this, seeing it's third from the top. It's against Daya, who he's had matches against Daya over the last 4 months. But I mean, do I think that those two have exemplary chemistry that would encourage him to put the foot on the pedal? I don't know. I don't know if I could say that at this point.
Well, I think you'll be. I have faith that you'll be pleasantly. I don't know if surprised is the word, but I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna make you make you very happy when they put on their performance of this match. I think this will look way more like his singles matches for the Brave Gate in November and December than it will some of his. And it's like, I don't think I've seen the SBK match yet where I see him wrestle and I'm like, oh, he's not able to do this, or he's whenever it's been disappointing, it's always been a case to me of, oh, he's just coasting. He's getting by on his charisma and is like doing the SBK boots in the corner and this kind of thing. It's like he's just coasting, and I'm a lot less concerned about a guy who shows incredible talent and has exhibited that he can operate at a world class level. I'm a lot less concerned when once he's shown that with the poor performances, because it's just a case of, okay, he's just not going all out here. And especially in the current climate where, maybe you don't want to. He's had his injury issues, so maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he's been told not to push it too hard on a random Cork and 6-man tag or whatnot. And in some ways, it might even be encouraging because it shows a level of maturity to his game as well, that he's already realized that it's important to pick your spots. And like, this is a guy who I think they should be playing the long game with, because given his age and his talent, like, he could be the focal point of the promotion for the next 20 years. So like, he could be like I honestly think his ceiling in terms of importance to the promotion, or in terms of star level in the promotion, is like Shima of like his best days. I think there's a lot of that in him. I think he's got that Shima confidence. I think he's got similar ability. I think he's got that charisma. To me, I think him not killing himself is probably a good thing, and it's in tune with what we've seen coming out of Dragon Gate and heard of coming out of Dragon Gate in recent times, about there being more of an emphasis on safety and longevity and not killing yourself. Because these guys who all started together in their 20s in 1999, 2000, and had no fear and no one to tell them to tone things down, because like Ultima didn't care. He just was like, go out and kill yourselves, make me money. So now those guys have grown up and they know, hey, if Masato Yoshino knows, hey, the lightning spiral, not the best move to be doing. Let's retire that. I've seen many an opponent get hurt with this move, so we don't need to be doing that anymore. And things like that you hear of coming out from Dragon Gate, and it's all very much new. It's not stuff you would have heard of from Dragon Gate before. And I think it's a smart mentality. And I think that's one that, if that is the mentality that's at play here, that they see a guy that they think is going to be their supernova for the foreseeable future, who's already had some injury niggles, they're like, hey, you do not need to go out there and kill yourself all the time. Take it easy. And when you have this Brave Gate match with Jackie and it's a big deal and we'll promote it like a big deal, go nuts and have the best match you can. And when he when he proved that he could do what he did in those matches, I just viewed him in a whole another light, and I think he's going to be. I think this will be another example of that. So I'm pretty excited about this match. I will say I think they're doing Dragon Diet dirty here. General Manager Ryo Saito he's doing him dirty because the guy's wrestling twice. Can you not at least put the second match on as the semi-main event instead of the third from the top? Uh, give him an extra match to catch his breath and regain his energy. Like he going into a match with a guy as talented as SBK with that level of disadvantage already, you want to mitigate that against that as much as possible. Come on, Cyrio, let's get this changed around.
Yeah, I mean, if you put him in the semi-main event, we know Nosawa Ronkai is going to work slow. So just flip-flopping those matches, he would get another like 15, 20 minutes of rest here. The thing that the point that I thought you really hammered home, and something that I really see happening with Dragon Gate, especially over the last like 24 months, is the calming down the ring style a little bit. Like the dives are still there, the pace is still there, but like you look at someone like La Estrella, and as soon as La Estrella started having some issues with some moves, they yanked him out of his moveset. They said, no, you shouldn't do that now. So with SB Kento, like he does, I would say, out of people in his class and out of people of his generation, he probably does have the safest ring style. But he, as you mentioned, he's had some just dings and dents over the 2 years he's wrestled. So you don't want to, there's no reason to rush that. So I think you were really dead on and with that. And with Daya, I think it's something that the way they've kind of treated him after losing the mask and have made him kind of, in a lot of ways, the main character of the promotion for the first 5 months of 2022 has been remarkable. But it does seem like his future works out best with D Courage than it does as a singles champion. So I'm with you on this. I think that he's going to walk out with one belt, but it's not going to be the white belt.
Yeah, I think you've gained enough in with him winning that title and making him seem special by having both belts and having a singles title. I think that's like you could keep the reign going and have him build an impressive Dreamgate reign, but I don't think you need to. I think you've already got a lot out of this, and I think that Brave Gate would be better served around the waist of SBK for the next 6 months, or really even for the rest of the year at least. I think you can have him dominate that division. I think it's a good play to maybe have SBK dominate the Bravegate division before he goes for the Dreamgate. I think there's no need to rush it. We've seen what's happened with Konosuke Takeshita, I should say. Not trying to disappoint Excalibur like Joe Lanza. When you have a talent that young, and you just it's hard not to just have them on a sharp upward trajectory to the top of your company. But once they get there, and they've done it a few times, and they're still only 25, it's like, okay, what else can we do with this guy? He's only 25 and he's already done everything he can possibly do. So it's probably good to keep some things on the shelf for SBK, and that being the Dreamgate. So I'd have him just dominate the Bravegate division for a significant amount of time before you go to Dreamgate route with him.
Yeah, and it's something that it's very clear that the company is really high on him. I mean, I predicted that he would win the Dreamgate this year at this show in December, so it shows you how much I really know when we get down to it. But yeah, I mean, time is a luxury that Dragon Gate has with these guys, so you might want to pick one of them to be the supernova winning the title super young, But if with SBK, he's someone that's clearly positioned as a centerpiece of the promotion within this next generation. So there's no real need to. I mean, he's only 22 years old, which sickens me. Sickens me, Alan.
It's appalling. He is not worrying about what sleepy tea he's drinking going to bed at night.
He probably doesn't even have like a pillow like I do that if I sleep the wrong way, my neck goes out for a week. You know, I mean, the luxuries of youth are wasted on them. They really are, Alan. They really are. If we want to talk about the luxury of the youth not being wasted, let's talk about the semi-main event. Unless you've got anything else you want to hit on about the Brave Gate.
I want to get into some Minorita chat.
Yeah, let's get into this. Open the Triangle Gate Championship match. This is Gold Class, Naruki Doi, Kaito Ishida, and Kota Minoura with Minorita, the Open the Triangle Gate Champion Team Gold Class, versus Perros del Mal de Japón, Eita, Nosawa Rongai, and the Metal Warrior himself, Kotaro Suzuki. And yeah, Eita bringing back Perros. I love Kotaro Suzuki, so I'm not.
That was literally the point I wanted to make. Was I was so rolling my eyes at Nosawa when this was revealed and this was like the set up to be the Triangle Gate match, that I totally kind of ignored the fact that, hey, one of my favorite junior heavyweights of my whole time watching Japanese wrestling is going to be facing off against three awesome Dragon Gate wrestlers on Dragon Gate pay-per-view. And it's super fresh, and I'm really excited to see how he works with them. And I think the likes of Kota Minoura and Kaito Ishida will gain a ton from the experience of wrestling with Kotaro Suzuki. And Naruki Doi and Kotaro Suzuki, they've got priors. So, this is it's actually potentially awesome. And, No Case made the point, which is a fair point, that in Nosawa's one previous Dragon Gate appearance last year, well, he used to do Dragon Gate a long time ago, but more recent vintage, his one appearance a couple of months ago, he was perfectly acceptable and fun in that match. So if he holds that kind of standard here again, or even just stays out of the way and lets Ada and Kotaro Suzuki tear it up with Doi, Ishida, and Minoura, this could be really good. And like the gold class dynamic has really hit so far. And I mean, you could just use Nosawa to be trolled by Minorita, and that would be perfectly fine. I don't think Kotaro is a guy you want doing comedy spots with Minorita. Kataro's not the most expressive guy in the world. That's probably his one fault and the reason he didn't become like a major star in the last 20 years. And he's just kind of a great worker. So I don't see too much interaction between him and Minorita. I could see maybe some Ada Minorita interaction, but I think they probably will keep that to a minimum. I think they'll pair up Nosawa, Minorita, and then they'll let the other five guys kill it. And this match could be better than you think when you see it on paper and your eyes are just drawn to those all caps and you're just sitting there looking at it disgusted.
Yeah, and the thing about Nosawa, and I've said this a couple times, Alan, so you're probably sick of me hearing me say this. Nosawa is weirdly family in Dragon Gate. Like, regardless of what was happening in Noah, Nosawa, Rongai, and Toko Gurentai have showed up in Dragon Gate pretty much since Dragon Gate formed. So him being here is not a new thing, but it's something that with 2022 eyes, there's probably a lot of people who are just going to go, ugh, disgusted. And, I mean, and it rightfully so in their minds, so I don't blame them for it. I'm just wondering if Minorita getting chased by Nosawa Rongai, if they're going to have like a smoke break, like part way up the ramp as they do this. Like, I don't know what Nosawa's distance running is. Like, that's what I'm concerned about.
Well, I do remember back in, this is really going back in the day, but I would say 2006, 2007, the Gaora wrestling show that wasn't Dragon Gate Infinity, All Japan B Banquet. I remember there was an episode where we saw various skits of Minoru Suzuki making his protege Nosawa run stairs and run laps around the building to whip him into shape. So I don't know if Nosawa's kept up that level of training. I'm thinking he hasn't. Probably sits with his pencil and a cigarette and prepares for his next phone call to some 55-year-old wrestler who won't do what he wants him to do, and is like, oh God, I have to call this guy. Oh, here we go, and he just puts the cigarette out with his foot and just calls up, I don't know, Kendo Kashin for a conference call with Hideki Suzuki or someone like that, and it's just like, oh, here we are. But yeah, so it's yeah, I don't think he's up to the task of especially in a bigger arena like Dolphins Arena. I don't know if he's going to be able to do too many laps of that, but maybe his old pal Masada will get involved and he can pass the baton on to him and he can kind of carry the load on some of that legwork for Nosawa in this match.
Yeah, it'll be a fun thing to see Minorita dealing with Nosawa. I mean, yeah, you gotta be careful with him. I mean, he's a scamp, and you don't want him to get bad influences. And he's been hanging out with Metal Warriors backstage. You can't let him go with Nosawa.
To be honest, like they've been so brilliant and creative in the ways they've used Minorita. It's been real classic Dragon System creativity / comedy that they have done with Minorita so far. The spots, like obviously as they've kind of toured around, we see certain spots getting done over and over, but that doesn't make them any less genius. And like the thing where he slides in front of Yamato and does his hair gimmick and stuff like that. It's just so good. And whoever's coming up with the ideas for Minorita has been killing it, and I can't wait to see what they have planned for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's something where I always had issue trying to figure out how Takumi Hayakawa was going to translate, but having him as Minorita makes perfect sense here, and I think it'll play in really fun for this semi-main event. And that brings us to our main event of Dead or Alive 2022. It is for the Open the Dreamgate Championship match. Kai will be making his third defense against Susumu Yokosuka. It would not be Dead or Alive, cage match or not, without some wacky stipulations attached to this. Kai would only accept this match if Susumu agreed to this following stipulation. If Susumu Yokosuka loses this match, he must leave Natural Vibes and rename back to Susumu Mochizuki for the first time in over 20 years. And boy, is that a stipulation, Alan, as someone who I know is a big fan of Susumu Yokosuka. Him going back to his real name after 20 years would be kind of weird. At least it feels that way to me, at the very least.
Mike, I'm so conflicted about this main event. I'm not conflicted about my being happy about it being on the card. Not at all. I think it's a great main event. I think Kai has for any faults you might want to point out in Kai, how much we spoke about SB Kento having levels in terms of performance. Nobody has levels quite like Kai. Kai on any show versus Kai in a Dreamgate singles match is a completely different animal. It might as well be a different wrestler entirely, but he has delivered in every Dreamgate match so far. I thought the Yamato match was excellent and a great way to close the year with a big surprise win. He looked awesome in victory. I thought the Big Boss Shimizu match was incredibly exciting and dramatic and really well done. And then the Takashi Yoshida match, it it had a ceiling, but it hit that ceiling. It was as good as a Kai versus Big Boss Shimizu match could be, for sure. And Kai was good in it. So, I have had no qualms with this Kai Dreamgate reign so far. And I love Susumu. I love the idea of him getting this title shot coming off the KS retirement. I think it works really well. I think it's good timing. I didn't see it coming, but I love it. However, I'm so conflicted about the result of this match. if I was 50-50 on the Big Boss Shimizu match, I blame you guys for that. You riled me up into thinking Shimizu might win, and it made for an extremely exciting viewing experience, not being spoiled and not knowing who was going to win that, because I really did think it was going to go either way. If it's possible to be even more even somehow than 50-50, then I am here, because if it wasn't for the stips, I'd be so far in the Susumu corner thinking he'd win. If this was just a straight title match with no stips, I'd be like, yeah, Susumu's winning. He's holding the belt going into World, and I'd be very confident in that. However, these damn stipulations are just so specific in their nature that I'm like, why would they do this? Why would they even introduce stipulations if they weren't planning on going with them? And like I said, they're just such specific stipulations as well. Like that he has to leave vibes, a stable which just got a new member that Susumu has never really fit in greatly in terms of the presentation. He obviously fits with them as a wrestler and works really well with those guys in matches, but just the general tone of the group he hasn't really fit in with. Um, and then the name change thing, again, it's very specific. You see Mazaki Mochizuki, kind of as we talked about earlier, having been on the sidelines for so long, not doing anything hugely important, and you think maybe there's a double Mochizuki unit that could be the answer to our um, question of what was going to happen to all these unaffiliated guys that we currently have. A double Mochizuki headed unit makes a lot of sense. You could even say it's like a Susumu as the lead guy in the unit, with Mochizuki as his sort of senior lieutenant, and it would be Susumu's first chance to lead a stable. I think I'd be right in saying. So, God, there's a lot of reason to make you think Kai is going to win because of that. But at the same time, I just don't see Kai holding this title going into Kobe World. So, all that said, I'm just massively conflicted. I don't know how this is going to go, but I do think it's going to be a very good match. Um, do you have any more of a feel for what way they're going to go on this one? Do you think there is a chance those stipulations were just put out there as a red herring? Or are you like me thinking, there's obviously a reason why they choose those?
I'm of a couple minds. I'm with you that usually Dragon Gate, they will have some stipulations in matches that just don't happen, but usually that's with the cage match. So it would be okay to not expect the Yamato to get kicked out of his unit and have to be made to do his entrance in a bathrobe. Like there's stuff like that that happens. That's fine. But this one, there's stakes here. I guess like my mindset is if Susumu loses the double Mochizuki, and hey, I mean Konda's still around. That's M2K. We could be getting a revival of M2K after all this long.
Yeah,
If we want to go down,
to be honest, I think if you're gonna do it and you wanted it to feel like a Susumu led unit for the first time, I think you want to avoid
M2K.
M2K. I think you
Yeah,
want to. I don't think you do any of the M2K throwbacks. I think you keep Konda out of there. I think you bring in young guys like Strong Machine J, maybe. Well, maybe not
Kakuta.
him because you want him to be with Ada. Kakuta seems like a perfect fit. A couple of other of the new class, a couple of those guys. Fujiwara could be in there.
Mm.
It's it seems like a because they've waited. They seemingly have just been waiting for something with a lot of these unaffiliated guys, and this could be the something.
Yeah, and it's something with Natural Vibes. I mean, this is their second run with Natural Vibes and never ended the first time. They are the oldest unit in Dragon Gate right now. So you could see the logic being like, okay, this could be like the start of the end of Natural Vibes. And it's something that if you include the time before the Generation War, it's a long tenured unit. You're able to kind of wrap it up there, and this would be a good starting point of it. But Kai
I'm
being
not. I'm not
Dreamgate,
sure. I'd see that coming. I think Natural Vibes still has a lot of steam left in it. I just don't necessarily think Susumu adds to that steam. I think they still go forward. I think they still follow the same path forward, whatever they are going to do, whether Susumu is or isn't with them. I don't think he makes that much of a difference to Vibes. I think Vibes makes more being in or not in Vibes makes more of a difference to Susumu than Susumu makes to Vibes, if that makes sense.
no, that's entirely fair. I mean, he's the one who does dance well. That's his gimmick within Natural Vibes and within his career. I just kind of look at it as, all right, maybe you get 2 or 3 units out of the great unaffiliated masses, and if they decide that Natural Vibes has reached its end, you could get more out of that than just Susumu leaving and the general unaffiliated thing. So that's like my only kind of thing about the stipulation there. Kai as champion, I've liked Kai as champion. This pay-per-view has always felt like the natural conclusion for his title run, but then as you mentioned, like, then you have to have Susumu's stipulation there, so it goes from a no doubter title change to, I don't know if I'm 50-50. I'm still trying to make heads or tails of this with the stipulation, but Kai being champion after this, they would have to do a title switch right after King of Gate, which they've done before, if they don't want Kai to then enter Kobe World as champion. Like, there's just
The
not
old break in case of emergency Yoshino title match
right.
and like
Yeah.
a random show.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Like they've done it before, and it's always been Yoshino who's been the one who's done that, by the way. But
Here's something. To muddle your thoughts even more, Mike. Do you think there's a chance that Susumu wins the title and then gets on the mic after the match and says, presented with these stipulations, it led to him doing a lot of thinking, and he realized that actually, for him to move forward as Dreamgate champion, it's best for him to forge his own path with a new unit, and he's voluntarily stepping away from Natural Vibes, and to cement this and to make it, to have that line of separation, he's also going to change his name to Susumu Mochizuki, and he wants to get the blessing of Masaki Mochizuki to do so, because of course it was Masaki Mochizuki beating him in 2003 that led to him, or 2002 I think, that led to him not being able to use that name anymore. So he asked Mochizuki to give him the blessing to do this without a stipulation enforcing it. Mochizuki says sure, and then they shake hands, and then they vow to fight together and to lead the way for a new generation, and they start recruiting. Could you see something like that playing out coming off this show? Because it does feel like 2 stipulations that I talked about how specific they were earlier. It also feels that they're interesting in the fact that neither stipulation is something that it feels like Susumu would be altogether too bothered by. Like if
right.
I was gonna suggest stipulations to ruin Susumu Yokosuka's life, these probably wouldn't be the 2 I'd be going with. I think I'd probably choose something like, you must give me your sewing kit, and you're no longer allowed to take photos of your cats. And
That's brutal.
that's brutal. It would feel like a serious punishment to him.
Yeah, like that's the thing, is like the stipulation is so reasonable in the auspices of the Dragon system that, like, I totally buy the idea that he wins the title and then decides to take the stipulations even after winning, and having that Mochizuki contra Mochizuki moment with Mochi, I think, is one of those things that Dragon Gate loves to do when they can. Just this is a company that loves doing the nods for the old heads. So I could see them doing that. And I think that would be a very fun way to kick off the hot season. The scenario presented that Susumu goes independent as champion, reverts back to his old name. It seems like that him and Mochi are reuniting. That provides like an interesting kind of stake there as we move into King of Gate season, and I think that'll be a really fun way to end a show in the old. I forgot that sometimes it was called Dolphins Arena until you brought it up there. One of my favorite arena names in all of Japan.
Yeah, it's a good one. Fortunately, we're getting Nosawa on the show and not Super Delphin, or Super Dolphin for that matter. It'd be always nice to see them. Has Super Dolphin ever worked the Toryumon or Dragon Gate show?
I don't think their paths crossed, and they wouldn't have crossed by the time that they were doing the Dragon Gate Osaka Pro thing in 2010.
Yeah, no, he wasn't around. That seems like a real shame.
Yeah, that seems like a real missed opportunity, but they do have, of course, Mill Mongoose around every once in a while. So that's okay.
This is true.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really feeling myself, Mike, if it does play out like I suggested there. I think that's no, I think if it pans out like that, I will feel like quite the prognosticator. But I hadn't considered that before talking about this with you, and now that I've kind of laid out that scenario, I think I'm moving more towards 60-40 for a Susumu win.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's what Open the Voice Gate does. We kind of talk ourselves into different things than when we come on air.
If Susumu wins, how would you like to use him for the 2 title matches at World? I'm trying to remember, when I had Jay on my show, the Jay scenario for his dream scenario for the Dream Gate at World, was that something we had on air, or it might have been an off-air conversation?
I think that was an off-air thing. I know Jay has talked, and Jay and I are kind of in agreement and thinking that this is the summer of Eta coming out of this.
Yeah, so he suggested that it would be on the first night, with it being the Ultimo tribute show. You do kind of a nostalgia match, and you do Susumu versus Dragon Kid, Ultimo's first generation protege in Dragon Kid, going for the Dream Gate and having a Dream Gate match against his rival Susumu. And they'd have a really good match against each other. It'd be there's really not much you can complain about with Susumu versus Dragon Kid. And then on the next night, you'd have Susumu defend against whether it's Ada or KZ or whoever you want to win King of Gate and emerge from Kobe with the title. So I loved that scenario. I think you could also do that with Susumu versus Mochizuki if you wanted to maybe do the scenario we talked about, and but maybe have it be the Bryan Danielson, John Moxley. I need to bleed with you before I team with you type deal, where Mochizuki says, yeah, we'll make a stable, but you got to give me a crack at that title on Kobe World. And Susumu says, sure. And I don't think anyone would be complaining about Susumu versus Mochizuki at Kobe World Hall. And I think I like those ideas, because I think having a nostalgic nostalgic's too much of a word, making it feel like it's a relic, but like a tribute to the past type match with guys that can still go on one night, and then you're looking to the future, looking to the now match the next night. I think that works so much better than the stuff New Japan have been doing with their Tokyo Dome Double Dash main event, whatever they call it. It provides so much more intrigue, I think, and I'd really like to see them do something like that. I think Susumu is the perfect guy to do it with, because he's going to give you 2 great matches, so why not?
Yeah, why not? And I mean, he's someone that even like there was, and I don't know if you saw any of this, there was a little bit of outcry about the stipulation thing, that this would be his step towards the end. But like Mark Henry, if Susumu Yokosuka reverts to Susumu Mochizuki and leaves natural vibes like Mark Henry, there's still a lot of gas in the tank there of Susumu. I'm not too concerned about that.
No,
But
me
him
neither.
having 2 matches on up top Kobe World, and with the man who has a move named after Kobe World, it just feels appropriate, and it feels like the kind of thing that Dragon Gate loves.
Yep, and they busted out said move last year in the Twin Gate match on one of the nights at Kobe. So
Pudge is well aware because I jumped out of my seat screaming "World Liner." And waking up the poor young man, because when you see Dragon Kid and Susumu in a ring and Kobe World Cannon Hall, you think World Liner, and that happened, and I hope it happens many times in the future, man.
Indeed. But yeah, what a card! I think I am so excited for this card. I'm buzzing to watch it. It's one of these ones where I'm just so invested in the outcomes, and I'm so invested in how different guys look and how they perform, how they what route they go with their characters. I'm so interested in all those things that I'm not even really thinking about like restrictions or atmosphere or things like that. So that in and of itself is the proof of how Dragon Gate has just excelled more than any other promotion during this period. They've done all the right things, and then this show and the feeling, like this feeling right now, previewing this show, is the proof in the pudding of what Dragon Gate has done in the last 2 years. And I think they're so well set up for coming out of this and going into King of Gate, which we we're very excited about the lineup for, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Before we got out of here, I wanted to get your King of Gate thoughts. We'll be starting with that on May 11th in Tokyo Korakuen Hall. 32 men, Alan. Uh, it is the largest King of Gate field in history. They're sticking with the knockout, and we are not having any sort of second chance Dragon Rumble here. So you lose and you go home here. 32 of Dragon Gate's wrestlers to discover who wins. The LEC Barasan presents King of Gate 2022, Dragon Gate's #1 championship. And
When was the last straight up knockout King of Gate? Was it 2006, or did they have another one more recently than that I'm completely forgetting?
they've had one since then, I am certain. But it's something that, when Ultimo came back, they kind of brought back some of the trappings there. I mean, like they did the Dragon Rumble when they did a block play version in 2020, or 2019. So it's something that I'm right now just scanning through quickly this. Like they went to block play. Okay, so 2015 was the last pure knockout, no buyback tournament.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I like that they're doing it this way. I think they have enough roster depth that, like, look, if you were to put all the guys we'd want to see in this tournament into a round robin situation, um, you'd need to tack on another month for it because it would just take so long to get through. But by having it be knockout, we obviously can get through it a lot quicker, but we also get enough good matches because like the 16 matches in this first round and at least 12 of them are really exciting and interesting, and then as you go through the tournament I think pretty much every match will be exciting and interesting, so we're gonna get bang for our buck here with this thing.
Yeah, and with the advent of the Dragon Gate YouTube channel being used for digests, we'll most assuredly see more of this tournament than we ever have before. I mean, don't really have to worry too much about that old Gaora schedule now, Alan, when they can just put stuff up on YouTube if it's not being taped for Gaora. So I'm hoping that this will be the most complete King of Gate that one can watch. But I was hoping before we got out of here, Alan, to see your big takes coming into this tournament. I mean, I'm calling for the Summer of Veda. Jay is calling for the Summer of Veda. Who do you think will be Dragon Gate's #1 championship?
Yeah, I'm I feel Eta or KZ are going to emerge victorious here. Obviously, they can't meet in the final because they're both on the same side. So I'm gonna go with Ada to emerge. I think he might beat KZ in the semi-finals. Or are they scheduled to meet in the quarters? Let me just double check
Quarters.
here. Yeah, they'd be quarters. So I think he might come through. I think both those guys make it as far as the quarters, and I think Ada comes through that big match because I just think of the two, it's more Ada's time right. It feels more like Ada's time right now than KZ's. Ada's so over, it's ridiculous. KZ won the tournament last year, so I there's so many guys winning this tournament would mean a lot for that. I don't know about giving it to the same guy 2 years in a row.
Which
If
would be the first time ever in
yeah, yeah,
Dragon
that's
System
true.
history, even dating back to El Numero Uno. There's not very many repeat. There's no repeat winners, and there's not very many multiple time winners of El Numero Uno and King of Gate. Like Eita winning would make him, I think, third with him, Mochizuki, and Yoshino. Just so people get context for what we're talking about.
And then if Ada's getting into the final from that right hand side, from the left hand side, I think with the storyline momentum that he has, I think they're going to go all the way with Jason Lee. And I think Jason Lee is going to cut through the field here. I think Jason Lee gets that spot in the final opposite Ada. I think that's a super fresh, super exciting match for the final. And I think those are two guys that could have a extremely memorable King of Gate final. So I'm putting my money down on Eita versus Jason Lee with Eita winning, and yeah, that's where I'm thinking now as I look at.
Yeah, those two guys have great chemistry too. You remembering the really fun 5-on-5 war that Red and Masquerade had, and the final match being Jason and Eita was something special there. So I like that a whole lot. Jason does have a fun route and possible to get there. His first round is against Benkei. So like he has a lot of tough outs to get through because he has Benkei, and then he would probably face Daya in the second round, and that just gets him into the quarterfinals. And the other part of that bracket has SB Kento, Kakuta,
Well, I
and
think
Hulk
SB
on it.
Kento's going out. I think Kakuta's winning that. So I think
I like that.
I could see Kakuta getting as far as the quarters, being a good return for him. If Ada's getting to the final, I see whoever he's against being a fairy tale story type guy, someone who hasn't been there before. So I could see it maybe being a Kakuta. I could see it maybe being a Dragon Daya. But Jason Lee is the one that fits that billing that I think I'm most feeling right now. But I don't see it being someone like who else is on that side of the draw.
Kamei.
Kamei, I just don't see getting there. In terms of like I'm talking like in terms of like the more season, I don't see it being a seasoned guy like a Ben K or a Kai. I don't think any of them are gonna. If it is Ada in the final, I don't see any of them matching up with him. I think it's going to be one of it's going to be someone where you get behind them in the final versus Ada, but Ada proves himself as like the dominant guy in spectacular fashion and gets a big win where he looks like a really real top guy going into his push for the Dreamgate. So look, there's a million ways they could go here. As I'm looking at the brackets, I'm kind of eyeing things up. I'm thinking of all kinds of different ideas and runs they could put people through. Big Boss Shimizu, will that injury maybe take him out, and does that change things up because he's against Takashi Yoshida, and I would have expected him to win there, but maybe he can't go, so maybe that's, or maybe he can only go for one match, and then they have to just have him lose to get him out. So it's interesting, but they're very much putting on Corgan the first night. They're really putting out some strong matches. That's going to be a really interesting show, and I think it's hard to pick. I think it's going to be a lot easier to pick the results of those matches on the first night in Corkin after we see King of Gay or after we see Dead or Alive. I think the results of Dead or Alive will really tell us about how a match like Kai versus Shuji Kondo will go. I think it'll tell us a lot about how SB Kento's match goes. Um, Obviously, Hip Hop Kakuta, like if he just gets treated like a Jay Brown in his return match, like you don't see him beating SB Kento then a few days later. In case, and I don't, I might not be, I might be putting words in your mouth here, Mike. I can't remember what you said, but I know Case was all in thinking Yuki Yoshioka was a lock to beat Yamato. I don't feel anywhere near that confident about that. I'd like to see it. It's what I'm hoping for, but I would still make Yamato the favorite in that one. And then Ada versus Shun, which is obviously if it is going to be Summer of Ada, he's going to have to start with a big win here against like the guy who's been the focus of the shows all year. So that's a huge match.
Yeah, you mentioned Shuji Kondo. That's the person that I think is going to be the big bracket buster in this tournament because, we'll get a sense of if he could beat Kai from Dead or Alive, but then his next round match would be the winner of Kamei and Maria. So that's pretty much just locking him into the quarterfinals there.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm really clamoring at least to see if we can roll back the clock with Shuji Kondo. If he's not going to do it in King of Gate, then let's just permanently put him in Rec League, which is fine, which is totally fine. But I would like to see that at least for 1 month to see if we could really get the Untamed King Kong back out there. And that's what I'm hoping for with this. But it's going to be a whole lot of fun when that thing kicks off next Wednesday in Cork and Hall, as Dragon Gate has this insane May schedule, Alan. It's going to be hot and heavy. If you haven't subscribed to the Dragon Gate Network, Alan, I know you already have, but for listeners, this is the time because as of a recording, there was a Kyoto show this morning, there's one tomorrow, and then there's Dead or Alive, and it just goes from there. It's the hot season, and we're here for it.
Indeed, we are, and maybe we'll have to switch to a nice cold brew tea, Mike, to get through this hot season.
Man, I as a Southerner, I do love iced tea, but being a Southerner, I also detest this thing in the States we call sweet tea. It is the most disgusting drink one could have. Alan, this is when they make like a big pot of black tea for iced tea, and then they pour in as much sugar until the tea can no longer absorb sugar.
Oh no, that does not seem good. I get these little things. You can get these little jars of these tea bags. They're like cold tea infusion things, and they're all nice flavors. And you just drop them into your water bottle. You shake that thing up, leave it 5 minutes, and then you got a nice cold tea to drink. It's I'm a big fan of them. I go with what's the one I go with? Green tea, pineapple, and coconut is my flavor of choice.
I mean, sometimes you've got to get the getting the tropical flavors with green tea. That sounds delightful. Yeah, no, I don't touch the sweet tea. I had braces on my teeth. I'm not risking with anything else after that. But it's just one of those things that, occasionally when we talk, Alan, I like throwing out weird American cuisine and drinks that I know that the rest of the world probably would find disgusting. And sweet tea, in my opinion, definitely is one of them. But Alan, it's been an absolute blast having you on here, coming on. Was there anything you would like to plug before we got out of here?
Well, Mike, it is always my pleasure to join you and or Case on your shows or my show. It's always great to talk to you guys. I've had a blast as I always do, and great to preview a show that, as people could tell hearing me talk about it, I'm very excited about it. I'm taping this quite late at night here in Ireland, and we did just have an incident with our home improvement a couple of nights ago, which involved our guy who was here staying late and doing unexpected drilling at 11 p.m. while we were downstairs. He started drilling upstairs, and the neighbors were in a shot in ringing the bell. And so I'm just being kind of careful to be a little quieter than I might usually be, but that is not a sign of lack of excitement. I am very, very much excited for this Dragon Gate show, and I hope if my volume didn't tell you that, I would hope my words and my thoughts about the show convinced you that I am indeed very excited for the 6th of May, Dead or Alive, Dragon Gate pay-per-view, Dragon Gate Network. Cannot wait for it. It's going to be a blast. So much I'm excited about on this card. But yes, you can indeed follow me at Alan4L on Twitter. My main thing to plug is, of course, as always, the Progress Paradise at PW Torch, and I think I'm not sure which will end up going up first, but very similar time frame. I will have Mike joining me on my show, where we will do a slightly different style discussion about Dragon Gate going into this show. Look, I'll be honest, for you Dragon Gate hardcores, Open the Voice Gate listeners, it may not be a show that's telling you anything you don't need to know, but Mike is going to help me with getting across the excitement levels of Dead or Alive to maybe a fan who isn't as well versed in Dragon Gate, that might be a PW Torch subscriber. And I'll be talking about some of the other highlights of Golden Week in Japan, because there's some other interesting stuff to talk about. So I'll be doing that. As well as the discussion with Mike about Dragon Gate, where we won't be going as in depth as we did here, but we will be hitting some of the high level notes and getting some of Mike's overarching thoughts about Dragon Gate right now in 2022. So at the start of this show, you kind of got my overarching thoughts about Dragon Gate. On my show, you're going to get Mike's. So I'll be over at ProWrest Paradise, but I will say that if there is a show that I did that for you Dragon Gate hardcores have to listen to, it is the show I did with Jay a couple of weeks ago on the history of the Dragon system in Cork and Hall. We went nearly 3 hours. We branched off into so many different side discussions. It was one of my favorite shows I've done. Jay was fired up on this show. We got into some really interesting chats, and yeah, I learned so much. I think anyone would. It was much like Jay's great appearance on Open Voice Gate recently, talking about KNS. He was just dropping knowledge on there. It was a blast to record, and yeah, I was very happy with how all my Cork and Hall anniversary show series, tribute series, turned out. We did 3 of them, celebrating 60 years of Cork and Hall, and they're all up there at PW Torch VIP with all the other exclusive content to Torch VIP subscribers. So there is my long-winded plug. So thank you, Mike, for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, I have to say, I was out in LA a few weeks ago, landed in LA, lost my phone, and one was the few things I added onto the burner phone I had that weekend. I made sure to download the Jay and Alan episode on ProWrest Paradise, and yeah, there's nothing I can say other than my full-throated endorsement. I mean, getting to hear about Jay's first ever Corkin show cracked me up. Like that's something that sticks with you. So if you aren't already subscribed to Pro Wrestling Torch VIP, I'm a subscriber. It is so much fun, especially Alan's Pro Wrest Paradise. So be sure to check that out. And thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back later this week with Case, and we'll be reviewing this Dead or Alive show. So it's the hot season in Dragon Gate. Get locked in. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with you next time. Take care.